Hi, Amy. Okay, this is your introduction to sourdough starters. In another video, Jillian will be sending you how to make sourdough, but that's only half the process. In order to make sourdough, you need an active, bubbly sourdough starter. So here's how you do that. This will be many parts. I'll talk a lot. You can replay this video whenever. But let's start with what you need. Okay, here is kind of everything you'll need. You've got your starter, which mine has a name. You'll have to name yours too, it's critical. You got some flour. I use specifically the, I don't have a picture of it. It's like just the all-purpose, like Robin Hood brand or whatever. It's the best because it has protein in it, I think, in Canada at least. It works for me. I would use that. I wouldn't use anything different, or obviously you could, but maybe you'll have different like results than I do. You've got some water. I always use like lukewarm or like room temperature should be fine, but you don't want to use cold water. I use tap water. Technically, you're not supposed to, but I've never had a problem. If you have like filtered water, go ahead. Just make sure it's like up to room temperature before you use it. I'll use your Sharpie. I'll show you that in a second. You've got a scale. I believe you have one already. Make sure it's set to grams. So right there, it's set to grams. That's what you're going to want. You need your new jar, and obviously your lid, and then I've got a spatula. Okay, so you're always gonna want to, first off, take your jar, have nothing on it, and you're gonna wanna weigh it. So mine weighs 244. Last time I weighed it, it was 245. So I wrote on the bottom, 245. It's kind of washed off, so I'm gonna do it again. 245 grams. So then you can always do your math properly. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what the jar weighs, so you'll know what's going in it if you just do a little subtraction, you know? So you put your jar on your scale. Okay, I could scream because I just videoed a whole bunch of that and I didn't press play. So what just happens is you put your jar on the scale. Then you're going to you always want to start kind of low when you're starting your sourdough, like when you're starting to feed it from coming out of the fridge. And so essentially you put your jar on the scale, you press tare, which is like, so it zeroes it out, right? And then I always start with 25 grams of my sourdough starter. So I already did this all because I didn't press play. 25 grams of my sourdough starter, so this stuff. I use the spatula to get it in there. And then I do 25 grams. So I press 0, so that now you can go 25 again and you know. And then you do your flour, 25 grams. And then you do your warm water, 25 grams. Okay, and then you mix it all up. So this is what she looks like, all not mixed up. That's about how much is in there. So we're gonna start mixing. I like to do it off the scale so then you don't like wreck your scale. But yeah, you're just gonna give it a mix. Trying to get everything off of the edges and like get it all incorporated. You don't want any little flour bits because it just kind of like messes it up later. Like they kind of turn rock hard if they're not mixed into the actual starter, and then like they'll kind of never mix in. So you want to get it quite mixed up, and then I'll show you the consistency in a second. Like it's just kind of like, I don't know, like the wettest dough imaginable. Like it's just kind of here. So that's what she looks like. But I'll show you from the bird's eye view. So yeah, that's like the consistency. Something that's important to remember is like if you ever mess up the ratios, so when you put your starter in, let's say we did 25 grams, if you accidentally put in more than 25 grams of flour, that's totally fine. If you put in accidentally like 30 grams of flour, then you want to put in another 30 grams of water, but you don't need that extra starter. It's always better if you mess up to have more flour and water than it is to have starter, because the starter will just like eat that up and it'll just make it stronger. Lots of people actually use ratios of like 1 to 2 to 2 or 1 to 5 to 5, which is crazy. So like, you know, if you had 10 grams of starter, you'd use like 50 grams of water and 50 grams of flour, which isn't really what I do. It is what I do like if I really need lots the day before I'm gonna make the bread, but I'll explain that later. Essentially, you always want to use a 1 to 1 to 1, but if your flour and water is slightly higher, that's totally fine. Okay, and that's it. That's feeding it for the first day and every day after that. So typically you feed it once a day. Some people feed them more. Like also feel free to watch other videos on sourdough starters. This is just what me and Jillian do. It works. So get your girl's little spatula. Everything's kind of scraped off the edges. I didn't do a good job. as good as possible. You take an elastic. This is what we do. You could also draw a line with like an erasable marker or something like that too, but you'd put the elastic, this works better on a different jar, I guess. You put the elastic kind of where the line is, and then you want your starter to double in size or more. So you want it to come up to like here or more at some point in the day. Usually this takes like between like 8 and 24 hours, or sometimes it doesn't rise at all. And that's really normal for the first time coming out of the fridge. Like we're just kind of getting this going again. Even if it doesn't rise, you're still gonna wanna feed it the next day. And when you go to feed it, you wanna discard half and then feed it. So that kind of keeps it from getting way too full, as well as it makes it stronger. We'll get that in the next part when I meet you again, but that's done for today. Oh, and then you just kind of like cover it lightly. You don't want to screw it on. I would almost like askew it a little bit, or if you have a cloth, just do that. Hello again, Amy. Okay, it is currently 10 o'clock. I think I started filming, I don't know, like 2 o'clock yesterday, like today. So it's been whatever, 8 hours, I guess. And this is what the sourdough looks like so far. So as you can see, she has doubled in size. This is what you want. I'm actually surprised that it rose today. It doesn't always do that when it comes out of the fridge for the first time. So yeah, obviously that's where the elastic was and it's risen. So this is called an active bubbly starter. This is the point where you could make bread because it's doubled in size and it's peaked. Because by tomorrow, I'm sure it'll probably fall back down to where we started. All the bubbles kind of die off. And you're not really supposed to make your bread at that time because the bread might not rise properly. So yeah, in theory, you could make bread. That being said, we only did whatever it was, like 25 plus 25 plus 25, which is like 75 grams total. But the bread recipe that we're sending you, you need 200 grams of starter. So that means you need like 75 grams of each to be about 200. So I can't make bread right now because I've got not enough active starter. Do you know what I mean? I just only did a small ratio because when you're feeding it like daily, you don't want to be feeding it large amounts. It's just kind of like harder. It doesn't make the starter as healthy. So tomorrow if I want to make bread, I have options. I can discard half of this and I can feed it like a higher than a 1-to-1 ratio, or I can not discard it at all and then feed it because I'm at around 75 right now, and then I'll feed it another 75 flour, 75 water. And in theory, the next day it would have risen and been ready to cook with. I'll let you know what I do. Hello, Amy. I'm back. It's the next day. When I woke up this morning, my sourdough had fallen like I suspected. So my plan will be so that I've got enough I can make enough, so that I've got enough that I can make bread maybe tonight or tomorrow by the time it rises. I'm just gonna add to this. So that means I'm not discarding any. This is totally fine, but you don't want to be doing it on a regular basis because it makes your starter less strong. It'll make it weaker, and also you'll like start to accumulate too much of it. So I'm not gonna discard any today, but if you weren't trying to make bread, or if you're trying to get a better rise or make it stronger and healthier, you would discard about half of this and then continue with your 1-to-1 ratio. Not what I'm gonna do today. Okay, just kidding, I just measured it and I'm at 330 grams, so minus 245 is 85 grams, which is a little bit too much. So I'm gonna discard a tiny bit. Perfect, okay. So now I'm just gonna add 75 grams of water and 75 grams of flour. Okay, so here she is, all mixed up, added. I've still got more than half of my jar left for room for when it rises. And yeah, once it rises and it's at its peak, I'll be good to make some bread. That's how you do that. There's lots more information out there. Always reach out to us. It's kind of confusing, but it's not that confusing. Don't make it too confusing. You've got this. Oh, and feed it every single day if you want to be making bread consistently. If you don't want to be doing that, just stick it in the fridge, but then you need like, 3 or so days to kind of get it up to snuff for you to start baking with. That's all.